When you think of Leonardo da Vinci, you see the beard, right? The wise face staring out from a self portrait drawn in red chalk. That's the Leonardo everyone knows. But there was a time, and most people forget this, when Leonardo was just a teenager. No beard and no fame. Just a young man from a small Tuscan town who was really, really good at drawing. And there is one painting that marks the exact moment this teenager stopped being a student and became something else entirely, a master. The painting is called The Baptism of Christ and it hangs in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. And here's a remarkable fact: Leonardo didn't even paint most of it. He probably only painted one of the angels that stands right next to Christ. But what he did with that angel changed the course of art history, and according to legend, destroyed the confidence of his own teacher in the process. To understand what happened, we need to take a trip to Florence in the 1460s. This was the epicenter of the Renaissance. The Medici family was pouring money into art, architecture, and scholarship. Workshops lined the streets, not the kind of workshops where one artist paints alone in a dusty room. These were bustling operations, part factory, part school, part studio, where a master oversaw dozens of apprentices and assistants. The best workshop in Florence at the time belonged to a man named Andrea del Verrocchio. Now, Verrocchio is one of those names that most people have never heard, which is deeply unfair because without him, there might not have been a Leonardo da Vinci. Verrocchio was born around 1435 in Florence. His real name was Andrea di Michele di Francesco de Cioni. Verrocchio was a nickname. It means true eye in Italian. Whether it referred to his own sharpness of vision or was adopted from an earlier master, sources disagree. Either way, it stuck. He started as a goldsmith, then moved into sculpture, painting, engineering. The man did everything. He designed costumes for Medici parties. He restored ancient Roman sculptures that had been dug up from the ground. But here's the thing: Verrocchio was above all a sculptor. That's where the genius really lived. His bronze David, which he likely modeled on the young Leonardo himself, is one of the defining sculptures of the early Renaissance. By the 1470s, what Donatello did, he was likely the leading sculptor in Florence. Painting, for Verrocchio, was something he did, but it was not the thing he was born to do. Into his workshop, around 1466, walked a young boy, Leonardo di Ser Piero da Vinci, born out of wedlock in a tiny Tuscan town. His father was a respectable notary. His mother was a woman named Caterina, and that's almost everything we know about her. Even her background is still being argued over by historians. He had almost no formal education, no Latin, no university, just a basic abacus school, but he could draw like nothing his father had ever seen. So his father arranged an apprenticeship with the best workshop in the city, Verrocchio's. At first, Leonardo did what every apprentice did. He ground pigments, he prepared wooden panels, he swept floors. Verrocchio's workshop taught everything: surface anatomy, mechanics, the use of light and shade, perspective, even Italian literature and poetry. Leonardo soaked it all up, but he did something else too, something that set him apart from every other apprentice in the room. He watched things that nobody else thought to watch. He studied how water moved, how light bends around the curving surface, how muscles shifted beneath skin. While the other apprentices were mastering the rules, Leonardo was already quietly breaking them. And then came the painting that would prove it. Sometime around 1468, Verrocchio received a commission from the monks of San Salvi, a monastery near Florence. They wanted an altarpiece. The subject? The baptism of Christ. This was a standard biblical scene. John the Baptist is pouring water over the head of Jesus in the Jordan River. Angels attend, and the Holy Spirit descends as a dove while God's hands reach down from the heavens above. It was the kind of painting Verrocchio had done before and certainly wanted to do again. It was a workshop piece, meaning the master would design the composition, paint the main figures, and leave certain areas for his assistants and apprentices to complete. This was entirely normal in 15th century Florence. Nearly every major painting was a collaborative effort. The master's name went on it, but many hands touched the surface. Verrocchio worked in tempera, egg-based paint, which was the standard medium of the time. It dried fast and it was predictable. It gave you sharp lines and clear colors. He painted Christ in the center, standing in the shallow water, with John the Baptist to the right, pouring water from a small bowl. He added the dove and the golden rays of divine light above. Then Verrocchio turned to his young apprentice. Leonardo, by this point, was between 18 and 20 years old. He gave him a corner of the painting, the left side, an angel kneeling on the riverbank, holding Christ's robes. What happened next is the most important notion of the entire story. Leonardo did not paint in tempera, he used oil. Now, this sounds like a small technical detail, but it was revolutionary in Italy at the time. Oil paint had been used in Northern Europe, especially, as long-time viewers of my channel will know, by Jan van Eyck. But in Florence, it was still exotic. Almost nobody used it. Tempera dries fast, oil dries slowly, which means you can blend. You can create transitions so soft that the eye can't find where one color ends and another begins. Leonardo understood this instinctively, and he used it to paint an angel that looked like it had stepped out of a different century. Look at the face, the skin is luminous, there's a softness to the cheeks, a warmth to the flesh. The angel's expression is alive, it's caught mid-motion, glancing toward the baptism with a look of quiet wonder. Then we notice the hair. The golden curls seem to actually move. Better yet, it catches the light differently on each strand. Now look at the other angel, the one on the right, painted by whoever else was working in the studio that week. It's fine, but it has the solid, somewhat rigid quality typical of the early Renaissance. Leonardo's angel looks like it belongs in a different painting, a different era. And it doesn't stop with the angel. Modern technical analysis has revealed that Leonardo likely reworked significant portions of the painting. The landscape in the background, that misty atmospheric distance where rocks and water dissolve into haze, that's Leonardo. Some scholars believe he even repainted parts of Christ's body, softening Verrocchio's harder, more sculptural modeling into something more fluid. And now we come to the legend. About 70 years after the painting was completed, a painter and architect named Giorgio Vasari wrote a book. It was called Lives of the Most Excellent Painters, Sculptors and Architects, and it became the foundation of art history. Vasari never met Leonardo. He was writing decades after the fact, relying on stories, gossip, and what I personally find most interesting, his own considerable biases. But what he wrote about the baptism of Christ became one of the most famous anecdotes in all of Western art. According to Vasari, Leonardo painted the angel with such extraordinary skill that Verrocchio was so ashamed that he swore never to touch a paintbrush again. This was the greatest sculptor in Florence, the man who trained half the artists in the city. In an instant, he felt surpassed by a young man who made his entire style look pretty old. Is the story true? Probably not entirely. Vasari loved a good narrative. He pumped up artists he liked and diminished those he didn't. But here's what is true. After the baptism of Christ, Verrocchio's painting output essentially stopped. His last known painting, a Virgin and Child with two angels, was passed on to his assistant Lorenzo di Credi to complete. Verrocchio moved to Venice and poured himself into sculpture. He never finished another painting himself. Whether he stopped because he was ashamed or because he simply recognized that sculpture was his true calling, we'll never know for certain. But the timing is suggestive, and the legend, even if Vasari exaggerated it quite a bit, points at something real. If you stand in front of this painting at the Uffizi, you can actually see the fault line running through it. Right side, tempera, hard lines, figures that are technically excellent but emotionally still. The old world. Left side, oil, soft transitions, a figure that seems to be thinking. That's the new world, and it's only a few inches away from the old one. Leonardo's angel has something Verrocchio's figures don't. It has atmosphere. It has the quality the Italians would later call sfumato, the smoky softness where forms dissolve at their edges. That technique, which Leonardo would spend the next 40 years perfecting, appears here for the very first time, in a corner of someone else's painting, painted by a teenager. Every blurred edge in the Mona Lisa, every misty background in the Virgin of the Rocks, every impossible softness in the Last Supper, it all started here, with this angel. We carry an image of Leonardo in our heads, the old man, the beard, the notebooks full of mirror writing and sketches of flying machines. But that Leonardo didn't exist yet in 1475. What existed was a young man in his early 20s. The Baptism of Christ is a painting where you can see the future being born inside the past, and that's quite fascinating. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.